Hello. Thank you. Thank you to anyone with the time, with the inclination to join in with today's broadcast. I was working on, for a few minutes, trying to rewrite the lyrics to a Hamilton song in support of protesters. Uh, but then I thought I'll save that for another time and perhaps just give you an original rendition of the original lyrics. And you can imagine I'm singing to protesters in a protective, maternalistic fashion because I'm not in the United States, but my heart is there with the wall of mums. And the same for all of us, even if we can't be on the ground with protesters and people who are dedicated to protecting the First Amendment rights of protesters. Yes, they're calling the president a dictator. He has broken multiple laws. He's consolidated executive power, caused multiple constitutional crises to occur. He has defied limitations set on presidential power. He has violated the congressional power of the purse when he chose to illegally withhold funds apportioned by Congress to helping an American ally, Ukrainian government, in order to manipulate them to participate in an illegal campaign rigging attempt to manufacture negative information about the politician who he thought was most likely to be his political opponent, or whom he wanted to so damage in order to prevent him from becoming his chief political opponent. Because Trump was afraid of Biden, and that's why he acted so illegally and so determinedly in trying to coerce President Zelensky, to behave corruptly, to protect his people corruptly, but to try and gain safety for his people by trying to get access to the promised close to $400 million worth of military assistance that America had promised, that Congress had voted on and passed and apportioned to that cause of helping Ukraine have the weaponry it needed to defend itself from ongoing Russian aggression. What's written? Did I spell something wrong? The US will upend the world with exported COVID infections via tourists and returning citizens. Well, yes, quite possibly. The rest of the world is trying to protect itself from US tourists by banning them, but we'll see how long the rest of the world lasts with that resolution. Because it does seem that the US will continue to have increasing infection rates, and that it's difficult to oppose a president who is still inspiring Republican governors, red state governors, to act in the most anti-scientific and anti-public safety way possible. And the only tool we have is public outrage. And public outrage is a potent tool, but it needs people to help organize it and shape it and direct it. Trump will have a lot of legacies to the world, which will not be good legacies. But that's fairly consistent with history, that out of control white supremacism has often destroyed the lives of many, the lives and the livelihoods of many. Jamaica's already facing the start of that problem. Interesting. So I'm going to sing a song. I enjoyed so much singing for my audience last night that I'm going to repeat the experience. But this is going to just be a quiet song in context of the musical Hamilton. It's a former Vice President of the United States, Aaron Burr, prior to attaining his position as Vice President, having a newborn baby daughter and singing to her protectively of his hopes for her future, in conjunction with Alexander Hamilton singing to his newborn son. Both very protectively about how they believe that if they lay a strong foundation for the United States as a new nation, that will help the children to flourish and give them an environment in which they can prosper. Yes, that would be difficult for Jamaica to have an economy dependent on tourism. So you've been having a good effort to smother the COVID pandemic, but the need to generate income is going to be a strong factor. It's unfortunate. The United States could have used stimulus payments efficiently, and it could make effective stimulus payments now, but instead there's been so much corrupt diversion of public funds to propping up unsustainable businesses and buying corporate bonds of companies like Apple and Tesla and is it also Google, which basically preserves the wealth of their CEOs. It preserves the stock price. It preserves Trump's claim to have a great economy if he just measures the economy by how well the stock market is doing. And the stock market is a facade. The stock market is a product of egregious misbehavior by the Federal Reserve, buying corporate bonds and propping up stock prices. It's a big transfer of wealth from taxpayers, from working taxpayers, to interest-earning, shareholding CEOs. It's extraordinary. There's this mass theft taking place right under our noses right now, and we have to be so consumed with just trying to save people's lives from a virus that it's hard to get enough reporting from the corporate media, which are also often publicly traded companies with shares, and beneficiaries of Trump and the GOP's plans to remove or reduce taxes paid by corporations and wealthy individuals on their income. So the middle class is being squeezed so hard it will struggle, and people's aspirations to join the middle class are being gutted. So here's this song about hope, because even in the midst of bad things happening, we still have to keep the fire of our resolve to oppose bad ideas and bad outcomes. We have to keep that fire burning. So this microphone doesn't work particularly, but it's a prop. Dear Theodosia, what to say to you? You have my eyes, you have your mother's name. When you came into the world, you cried, and it broke my heart. I'm dedicating every day to you. Domestic life was never quite my style. When you smile, you knock me out, I fall apart, and I thought I was so smart. When we'll come of age with our young nation, we'll bleed and fight for you, we'll make it right for you. If we lay a strong enough foundation, we'll pass it on to you, we'll give the world to you, and you'll blow us all away. Someday, someday, yeah, you'll blow us all away. Someday, someday. Thanks. Oh, Philip, when you smile, I am undone. My son, look at my son. Pride is not the word I'm looking for. There is so much more inside me now. Oh, Philip, you outshine the morning sun, my son. When you smile, I fall apart, and I thought I was so smart. My father wasn't around. I swear that I'll be around for you. I'll do whatever it takes. I'll make a million mistakes. I'll make the world safe and sound for you. We'll come of age with our young nation. We'll bleed and fight for you. We'll make it right for you. If we lay a strong enough foundation, we'll pass it on to you. We'll give the world to you, and you'll blow us all away. Someday, someday.
you'll blow us all away. Someday, someday.
So I hope you enjoyed that. So many good songs from Hamilton, and they've been really helping me keep my spirits up in the face of news that can be distressing, but is an ongoing situation. The challenges of our time are big. They are unmatched in some respects across history, but they're not unmatched in terms of hardship. Yes, some people are suffering lonely deaths in hospitals, and some people are losing multiple family members. I saw today on Twitter somebody suggest that their mother is just out of hospital, and that family members were visiting without masks, and that he knows they've each lost a child to COVID. They've lost a child. So I'm thinking they're probably elderly people who've lost a middle-aged child, but who knows? Some young people also die. Youth is not a guarantee that you won't have a severe case of COVID. It's just a reduction in risk. I'm so happy that you enjoyed that song. That's lovely. Thank you, Batman. And Richard can sing. I would love to do a duet with you, Richard. Do you know any Hamilton songs? That's exclusively my repertoire in the last week or so since I've seen it. I'm so taken by its layers, the elements of realness in its historical tellings, and the elements in which it departs from history in order to suck us in emotionally. Good, you can learn. Excellent. It's on all on YouTube with lyrics. It's so good. I would love to sing with someone else. How awesome! I'm lining up duets here. Fantastic. So yes, let's have a little look at Twitter as well to just keep ourselves up to date with some of these things that you can sometimes only find on Twitter. Particularly for me, because I don't have American cable news, but I like to stay abreast of American developments. So Texas reports 1,000 coronavirus deaths in just 6 days, which is a fairly decisive putting to rest the claims by science denialists that it was just young people getting the illness and that they would be fine, that infection rates might be rising, but that was just a byproduct of testing, Trump claimed, and that there wouldn't be a rise in deaths. Well, there is a rise in deaths, and all of Trump's machinations to hide statistics, to have the hospitals report to a Trump administration Department of Homeland Security rather than to the CDC, that could hide from America what is happening in their respective states, that can't keep the extent of the problem from Americans. I guess people just have to hear on more of a state-by-state basis what's happening, and that's okay, because sometimes people can't relate to the overall numbers, and sometimes the overall numbers conceal the fact that maybe the average was looking better because the picture is complex. New York, Connecticut, and New Jersey were doing well, have physically distanced, continue to wear masks, have broad compliance with these mandates and these public health measures. And states that don't have those measures, that have precipitously reopened, have told themselves, well, we're not New York, so it's not going to happen to us. We're different. You're still human beings. You still have populations, vulnerable people, elderly people, people with diabetes, people with heart problems. COVID-19 appears to thicken people's blood, making them more susceptible to kidney problems and strokes and heart problems, as well as affecting their respiratory systems. So it's important that the media keeps talking about it, and the media will. It's a topic that has the public's attention, and Trump cannot blow this reality away like he could blow down the houses of straw and sticks in the Three Little Pigs story. He is a master manipulator of the media, and the media is sometimes a too willing tool, too willing victim of that manipulation. Too many hard, highly established habits of paying deference to candidates. That's our job. We have to go both sides. We have to say Trump claims this and the Democrats claim this, without contextualizing the news for their readers that Trump has been caught in a pattern of unrepentant lying to the public, over 20,000 documented lies. And they are not inconsequential lies. They are consequential lies about the nature of tariffs, about what's happened with his trade war, about the fact that America was in a manufacturing recession in 2019 and in a general recession by February of this year, prior to the COVID outbreak. I mean, the COVID outbreak was spreading actually, but prior to public knowledge of the COVID outbreak, prior to any lockdown preventative measures. So 5,000 total reported deaths from the novel coronavirus, 1,000 of those deaths in just 6 days. Actually, are you seeing what I'm seeing? Yes. New Jersey, home of the dueling grounds where both Alexander Hamilton's son and Alexander Hamilton lost his life. You are fearful of the fallout in jobs, education disconnects, housing loss, and business failures to come. In Jamaica or in the US, or both? Both are damaging, but this is products of the disease, because even in nations where they refused lockdown and they've avoided mask wearing, like Sweden, they haven't saved themselves from economic disruption. The economic disruption, the social disruption, is a function of fear. Rational fear in response to a disease that is taking people's loved ones away. And yes, worldwide. And America will have a very potent impact on that in a negative way. The stock market will crash at some point. Trump will continue to try and stall that crash for as long as he can. And Republicans want to stall the economic crash with stimulatory measures, but it's very hard for them to do that because there's so much conflict internally because some of them are so opposed to ever bailing out workers. They only want to bail out owners. And so Ted Cruz is opposed to stimulatory measures. Elon Musk is opposed to stimulatory measures. He's not a Republican politician, but he's aligned with them. And he's received billions of government stimulatory payments in terms of federal credits for producing less carbon gas emitting byproducts. So in a way, you cannot separate the damage of the disease from the economic damage caused by people's human intuitive responses to the disease that are separate from government responses. Regardless of government responses to the disease, people reduce spending, people stay home. Yes, I have seen footage of the Vietnam veteran pepper sprayed in the face by the federal goon squad. What can we call them? Federal agents, unbadged federal agents. I think I have it saved in my bookmarks, but we'll have to have a look. Oh, a singer has made a song about mask wearing.
All the matters, all the anti-vaxxers, all the anti-vaxxers, all the vaccine testers. Now put your masks up in the public, opened up, doing your everyday tasks. Decided to flip, you're on a legal trip. Someone asked you to put on a mask. You get real mad, that's too bad. Don't spread the infection. Trump lied your fears for long years. You can't be mad at me. Cause if you like it, then you better put a mask on it. If you're acting like this task is hard, relax on it. Don't be mad, can't you see that we done it? All the decent human beings put a mask on it. Oh, 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 oh. We got Trump in the dump, depends on the feds, and another wave of COVID-19. You're acting up, think you're above, I could care less what you think. It's cut through the tension, did I mention? Don't pay Trump any attention. Successful, he said, 100,000 dead doesn't really feel like victory. Cause if you like it, then you better put a mask on it. If you're acting like this task is hard, relax on it. Don't be mad, cause you see that we done it. All the decent human beings put a mask on it. Oh, 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 oh. All the MAGA hatters, all the MAGA hatters, all the all lives matters, all the all lives matters, all the anti-vaxxers, all the anti-vaxxers, all the vax and taxers. Now put your masks up. Oh, 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 if you like it, then you better put a mask on.
It's good, a little repetitive, but it's an important message to keep hitting on. Did anybody? Yes, it was a musical interlude, and I believe that everybody needs to try and be as consistent as possible with this message, so that people feel the weight of social pressure. We don't just have to individually shame people; we have to be unified with our insistence and our continual sharing of that message. There is no vaccine at present. It may take a long period of time to produce one. It may not even be effective or particularly effective. It may make people asymptomatic but still contagious. We don't know. It's not done. It's not a done thing. Until that happens, if it can even happen, we have masks, and they reduce deaths, and they reduce hospitalizations, and they reduce viral transmission. Here is an ad about Trump and dictators, which goes well with the title that I chose today of Dictator Trump. So,
President Putin was very, very strong. He even called me brilliant. Isn't that nice?
Putin has much better leadership qualities than Obama.
I have President Putin. He just said it's not Russia. I will say this. I don't see any reason why it would be.
Kim Jong-un, he really has been very open, I think very honorable.
He's the boss. It's incredible. He wiped out the uncle. He wiped out this one, that one.
And then we fell in love. He wrote me beautiful letters.
Kim is a brutal dictator. He runs a police state, forced starvation, labor camps. He's assassinating members of his own family. How do you trust a killer like that?
I met him. I've spoken with him. I think that he really wants to do a great job for North Korea. His country does love him. They have a great fervor.
I like the Saudis. They're very nice. I make a lot of money with them. They buy all sorts of my stuff, all kinds of toys from Trump. They pay me millions and hundreds of millions. And I get along great with all of them. They buy apartments from me. They spend 40 million, 50 million. We are with Saudi Arabia. We're staying with Saudi Arabia.
We've become very good friends. NATO is obsolete. The European Union is a foe.
The European Union was set up to take advantage of the United States. We're not negotiating with Canada right now. Germany is a disgrace.
So that's a good ad for putting in context all of the pro-dictator stances that Trump has taken. And it's not just words, it's pro-dictator actions. So when he shakes Kim Jong-un's hand, he's elevating the despotic leader of North Korea in a way other leaders have avoided because it's not sensible. It's not sensible to elevate that leader into a position of strength because he can't be trusted to take care of his own people, let alone to interact with the rest of the world in a responsible way. Have you seen that Trump's part of his border wall fell over? Okay, so look, it's a waste of American money and hurts wildlife. I'm happy for it to fall down. people at the border are being treated inhumanely, but we could try and relieve some of that distress now. I remember just feeling so emotionally overwhelmed when the stories were breaking about what Trump and his cronies, his appointees, were doing to children and their parents. And that still hits me sometimes, to know that because of white people, that subset of white people who supported a man whose principal rise to power was by advocating for the racist strategy of birtherism to try and undermine the legitimacy of a Black American president by saying that he couldn't possibly be legitimate, that he was going to challenge the vetting done of that president and claim that he was not an American citizen, that his birth certificate wasn't real, and when he produced it, to claim that that was faked, and to just fabricate a movement around a racist goal of challenging the legitimacy of a Black Democratic president. And that's not okay that Trump did that. It's not okay that his wife joined in on it. It was his springboard into public attention, but particularly into the attention of racist Americans. Oh, tell me more about this phrase from US history, sic semper tyrannis. Is that thus perish all tyrants? Let's look it up. A Latin phrase meaning thus always to tyrants. When was it used? Part of the Commonwealth seal. A joke referencing the image on the seal that dates back as far as the Civil War is that sic semper tyrannis actually means get your foot off my neck. Oh. Rebellion. Wow, a variation of the Virginian seal, state seal of the state symbol, standing triumphant over a slain enemy with the legend, "Rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God." Hey, that would look cool on a protester sign. I will share this with you so you can see what I'm seeing. Why do I feel so short today? I think I need to change the angle. I just feel like this little head. Okay. So, rebellion to tyrants is obedience to God. I will use that. The thing is, there's never a neon sign saying God has deemed this person to be a tyrant. People claimed that Obama was a tyrant, and there's a lot of intellectual hesitation sometimes around condemning Trump, that it's taken so long for enough people to come out and say, this is not okay, this violation of our Constitution is not okay. There's been violations going on for a long time, and people's passivity in relation to that gave Trump permission to continue. So he violated the emoluments clause of the Constitution, and good people didn't speak up. Some people did, but it needed to hit a critical mass of people. And some people just seemed to understand that it needed to get worse. It needed to get worse out of respect for democracy. Oh, people voted for Trump in good faith, so we have to let him wreak havoc on our nation in order to legitimately change those people's minds. Well, it's working. People are changing their minds, but the cost is so high to the American economy, to America's soul, to America's reputation, to America's geopolitical standing, to the grandparents of America, to the veterans of America who have served, who are trying to live out their declining years in nursing homes that are now often beset by this uncontrolled pandemic that Trump's reckless and depraved indifference has allowed to flourish in the United States. Sic semper tyrannis. Get your foot off my neck. John Tyler's father uttered the phrase to a school teacher who had been tied up by Tyler and his fellow pupils. During the Civil War, at least one regiment of the United States colored troops used it as their motto. That's why you're saying it's got a dark history, because John Wilkes Booth wrote it in his diary that he shouted "Sic semper tyrannis" after shooting US President Abraham Lincoln. And it's now in a Maryland song, which is the official state song of Maryland. So I guess they're kind of celebrating the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. Oh, and Timothy McVeigh was wearing a T-shirt with this phrase and a picture of Lincoln on it when he was arrested on April 19th, 1995, the day of the Oklahoma bombing. So wow, it's got a very, very big history. The Oklahoma City bombing perpetrated by American terrorists Timothy McVeigh and Terry Nichols, 1995, April the 19th. I'm losing energy, so maybe I need to go. What software am I using to display my screen? I'm using a website called StreamYard. Every reach towards higher ideals follows unimaginable atrocities because human nature is cyclical. We get comfortable and then we respond to threats. And tyrannical movements confect and fabricate threats and get people upset about something that they already have a susceptibility to be upset about. They already irrationally hate Jews. You can use that politically. You can capitalize on pre-existing hate and fan the flames of it, make it bigger, make it a movement to unify behind, and then you have the Third Reich and you have Nazism. Hitler initially, I think in his first run for government, attracted 3% of the vote. But he had co-conspirators. He had complicit people who worked in the media to promote stories of alleged Jewish things that were wrong. They fanned the flames of public hatred until answering the call of that hatred became a political selling point, a campaign issue for Hitler. Only I have the manliness to attack your enemies, the Jews, the communists. And for Trump, he's now trying to fabricate an enemy of Antifa. And Representative Jerry Nadler's a bit of trouble today for saying that Antifa is a myth, but it is largely mythological in that it's not an organization. It's a loose association of people who tend to be a bit anarchical, but oppose fascism in the government. And their time has kind of come in that there is fascism in the government. There is a tendency to fan hatred and then capitalize on that as a campaign plank. We will hurt the people you hate. The cruelty is the point is a catchphrase from a popular Atlantic article written by journalist Adam Silver. I need to find out how to pronounce his name. If anybody wants to find that out for me, he's on Twitter, Adam S. Can't even remember how to spell his name, but I can look it up. But yes, he wrote the cruelty is the point. And Oh, he's made a video about it. So we can share that.
Donald Trump's approval ratings are at an all-time low, but despite the statistics, he will never lose his most ardent supporters. For them, his cruelty towards people they hate and fear makes him the ideal president. For the past few years, we've watched President Trump hold these big rallies where he goes after his perceived enemies while audiences cheer. These events serve as big ego boosts for the president, but they also serve as community building exercises where the president tells his biggest fans who they should hate and why. So as you can see in this clip, this is the president mocking New York Times reporter Serge Kovaleski, who has a disability, and you can see the audience enjoys it, they're laughing. And there are a lot of clips like this. You can go and you can see the clip of the president encouraging police to abuse suspects, and you can see police laughing in the background. I used to think that these events were mostly meant to feed the president's need for affirmation. But something else became clear to me in October when the president held a rally in Mississippi where he mocked Christine Blasey Ford, the woman who came forward saying that she had been sexually assaulted by Trump's Supreme Court nominee, Brett Kavanaugh. She told Congress that the thing that she remembered the most about that encounter was the laughter. And then the president held her up before the eyes of the nation as an object of ridicule and scorn. Even if you thought Ford was lying, the president's mockery stands to deter future survivors of sexual assault from coming forward, including almost certainly people that the attendees at these rallies love and care about. It was then that I realized the cruelty is a big part of Trump's appeal for many of his strongest supporters. Separating children from their families at the border, leaving Puerto Rico to its fate after Hurricane Maria, revoking protections for undocumented immigrants brought to the U.S. as children, joking about police abusing suspects, mocking the women of the Me Too movement, or attacking football players for protesting police brutality. Trump's biggest backers enjoy his cruelty towards people they have decided deserve it. For them, the cruelty is the point. Now, taking pleasure in cruelty isn't unique to Trump supporters. For example, kids often gang up on other kids and tease them, in the process making it very clear where the lines between us and them are. But what Trump has done is take this human impulse toward cruelty and elevate it to a political virtue. Trump has invited his supporters to feel joy in the suffering of those that they blame for their problems, an act that binds them to each other and to the president himself. And that sense of belonging, of community, forged by this cruelty, will ensure that the president's most committed supporters will never abandon him, no matter what he does.
That was great, wasn't it? But I can see people might be busy, or my low energy for today might be repelling the audience. So I will go, but return another day when I have more energy and more voice. I think I've worn myself out from singing too much. So yes, if you've enjoyed the broadcast or you've enjoyed my previous broadcasts, I encourage you to share them or recommend them to your acquaintances, and to offer any constructive criticism if you think you could influence this broadcast to improve or grow. I can't click on the link. I can see the digits you've typed, but I can't click on it. So you could tell me what word to search, put in the the YouTube search engine. So you can tell me what it is and I can look it up, but I can't, the comment section here doesn't attach to links. Okay, cat, perfect pinch. I might do that in private. It's not really, is it related to resistance? It's just a cheerful thing, isn't it? I'll check it out later. Thanks for trying to cheer me up. I'm not that sad. I'm probably a bit tired. Take care of yourselves, everyone, and take care of each other. I'm going to go do some writing. That's cool. Writing is a great way to codify the message that you want to have influence over people. So thank you for listening. Much appreciated. Thank you for your attention and time. And Yes, I also have a YouTube channel if you're interested in subscribing to it, which is davcat43.com. And you're trying to find your writer's voice as well? Cool. Well, message me on Twitter. We can encourage each other if you want to have someone else who wants to write but doesn't much to commune with, so that we can encourage each other to keep putting pen to paper or typewriting fingers to laptop. Take care, everybody. Bye.